Welcome to Community News Media, and we're here with another pickleball show. And welcome 2023. Happy New Year to everyone. I'd like to thank our sponsor today, Coral Reef Medical Supply. You can go there for all your medical equipment and supplies, and they're located in Palmetto Bay at 14307 South Dixie Highway. Go on their website, coralreefmedicalsupply.com. They have everything you need for pickleball, for tennis, for whatever you need, all your needs. And if you go to them, you'll get a 10% discount if you saw the show. So thank you. And today's guest is Jane Forman. Jane is the director of racket sports for Riviera, and very honored to have you here today. Really
I'm honored to be here.
And before we get started, I'd like to just say a few things about Jane. You came from Providence, Rhode Island. You won the Rhode Island State Championships every year as a junior player. At age 18, you won the New England Championships, being ranked #1 in women's tennis. In 4 years of high school tennis, you never lost a match. In fact, you never lost a set.
That is correct.
You then attended Clemson University on a full athletic scholarship and then was named to the NCAA All-American team for consecutive years. You achieved the most solid record in Clemson history, a record that still stands today. In 1984, you turned professional, reaching the top 50 ranked status of the world. You competed for 10 years and played in numerous women's tennis circuits. Your most memorable match, so I read, was playing Martina Navratilova on Wimbledon Central Court in 1986. You retired in 1989 and since then have been involved in teaching, coaching, training, and sports management. And Jane Forman Tennis Academy was conceived and founded in 1990.
Oh, thank you for reminding me all that.
So thank you. And this is a pickleball show. In case you're wondering.
You didn't hear anything about pickleball in there, did you?
No. But let's give credit where it's due.
Okay.
You've actually, I was a student of yours many years ago, back in the 90s. So were my kids. So you've changed, and now we've transitioned into pickleball. And so I want to ask you, because I know you're involved at Riviera, what this transition is like.
Well, I don't think I'll call it a transition. I'm going to call it an addition, because nothing has changed from what I've been doing for the past 35 years. I'm still, training as many tennis players as I possibly can, the juniors and adults, and cultivating women's leagues and men's leagues and doing everything that a tennis academy is doing. The difference is now we have a new sport especially at Riviera, because we have pickleball. We have designated pickleball courts. And the intensity of pickleball that's hit this country and now has hit Miami is here. It's real. And so I would be remiss if I didn't embrace it. So I wouldn't call it so much a transition. I would call it an addition. So it's kind of been fun for me, because I'm getting to do something a little bit different, but in the same field that I'm doing. So I'm really just applying my tennis background and my knowledge of directing facilities and managing programs, and I'm applying that to the pickleball courts.
So what's your, locally, regionally, nationally, what's your feeling on it? This is in addition, not a transition, in addition to the tennis. Do you see people coming in, young people coming in and playing as much tennis as they did coming to play, or do you feel they're wanting more of the pickleball?
No, I think that the younger person coming in is still coming in to play tennis. I don't feel a decline in the tennis industry. What I do feel, though, are people who maybe have played tennis for a very long time, or maybe feel as though that they can't play tennis as well, or maybe the older clientele is probably transitioning into pickleball more so than playing tennis. So I would say that, but younger people are playing pickleball, but I don't think that they were going to say, well, let me see, am I going to play tennis or am I going to play pickleball? I think that it's a phenomenon right now, and it's all inclusive, meaning anybody can play pickleball.
Do you think it's here to stay?
I think it's here to stay. I mean, it's here, it's real. I think that it's still on an upswing, and I think that it's trying to define itself. You can see, nationally and professionally, it's not developed, it's not established. It's nothing like the tennis world, and I don't think anything is going to impact that end of it professionally. And one of the things is that everybody is, or tennis backgrounded people, like maybe tennis instructors or tennis pros, have a little bit of a sore spot, maybe because a lot of facilities maybe that are underutilized are being transformed into pickleball courts,
right.
Which rightfully so. If the facility is not being utilized, or if there's a need for it, I say go for it, and let's utilize it properly and get people playing.
Well, just from I'm playing at Riviera now, and I love it. I love the facility. I love what you've done there. But I have been involved in playing at other courts and playing in other places. And one of the things that the buzzword on the street is that people are loud. They don't want the pickleball players because it's loud. I don't know. Like, we're trying to get courts by Gulliver. We're having an issue. The residents that live there feel that it's people are loud. It's because it's a social sport.
Well, I think what they're saying loud is because when you hear pickleball, when you hear the game of pickleball, you hear the ball, making contact with the paddle, and that's what they're deeming as loud. So it is loud. It is louder. It's louder than tennis because you don't hear it. But I don't find it so intrusive to impede on maybe building pickleball courts.
Right.
I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But loud is, it could be, deemed loud. But for instance, our facility is backed up in a neighborhood, and we have never gotten a complaint. And we, of the homes or any place around it. In fact, our neighboring community is using the facility. So they're really happy about that. So we don't really get complaints about being loud.
To back up a little, tell us a little bit about you have an impressive resume. I mean, it's unbelievable what you've done. What you came from. Tell us a little bit about getting involved in the Jane Forman tennis.
Well, when I stopped playing professionally, I started a tennis academy. I took that route of wanting to develop a program, a business of my own, and I went into a tennis management aspect of it. So I started bidding on parks through Miami-Dade County, and I managed Coral Reef Park for 17 years, and I renovated that facility. That's where I met you.
Yeah.
And I renovated, and your kids I taught there. So I really established myself at that park in Palmetto Bay, and it was a beautiful park, and it was a great, I call it growing up for my business, because there was lots of young kids. We developed a tremendous amount of kids programs and women's programs. So I learned a lot over the years there. Went on to provide to advance into providing sports programs for schools, which we're still doing. And we're providing after-school sports programs for elementary-aged and middle school-aged kids around town in public schools. And we were, my company was the first to do this, and we became a vendor with Miami-Dade County. So we instead of the kids maybe sitting in the cafeteria after school and waiting for their parents to pick up, I saw a need for them to get moving. So we provide not just tennis, but other sports. So the programs just started growing and growing and growing. And that was kind of fun to see that. Getting involved, this is, moving forward, fast forward, I got involved with Riviera Prep School when they built their facility at their school, their prep school, in 2010. And they, I kind of drove by the school and I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. And then I found out that they're building a prep school.
Right.
And I immediately called them and I said, are you going to be interested in having a tennis coach? And they brought me in that afternoon.
Wow.
And
wow.
so I've been with Riviera Prep School as their high school and middle school coach since 2010. And then our relationship grew, and I knew this facility was always in the works of them building this beautiful facility. So I was just waiting, and now here we are. So everything that I've done over the years, over the past 35 years, I'm applying to Riviera Tennis Center.
Which is amazing.
And the facility is beautiful. And they had the foresight to take one of the courts that was deemed a tennis court, and they decided to put 4 pickleball courts in that area because it could have been a little shorter than the other courts, permitting-wise. And that was probably the most genius thing about the facility,
Right.
because it introduced a whole new aspect to the management of how we're operating there.
So let me ask you this: you go into the schools to do the sports programs. What about doing pickleball programs in the schools?
We would love to. I don't feel like I tried actually this last summer because our facility has only been open for a year and a half. So everything that we're doing over there has just been skyrocketing on fast forward speed. I did try. I kind of let the pickleball happen organically because since it was new, I wanted to see how it would evolve, and I did try putting pickleball in a program for kids, and it didn't seem like it was as quickly taking off as the adults. We do provide pickleball for the kids during summer camp, so we are introducing pickleball at Riviera's day camp, which is probably the best camp you'll ever see around. It's phenomenal. And the kids get to try it and they love it. And even during the day, during the school day, the kids are getting to learn how to play pickleball because we provide tennis for the kids at Riviera during their PE program.
Oh,
So
okay.
the kids, so a lot of the kids are doing tennis during PE instead of your traditional PE class. And we're getting them we're introducing pickleball in that class to them. So they're learning another sport.
Are you happy with this whole adding pickleball in, and as a tennis player?
Yeah,
you know what
I mean, I joke.
Is
I
it
joke
like
about it.
bittersweet?
I joke about it. In the beginning, when I would see some of my tennis players playing pickleball, I would walk by and I say, "You gave up, and they would laugh. And then I realized that this is phenomenal. This is great because people are moving. They're moving their bodies. They're exercising. They're having a great time doing it. We're providing programs.
Right.
We're doing events. We're doing round robins. They're coming out on a daily basis in full force to play a sport. So what is so bad about that?
Do you find that your tennis players, like I was a tennis player, I was actually recently taking from Ingela,
Right.
okay, who used to be with you, and I just stopped when pickleball came out. I
Right.
was like, oh, I like
I
this.
think that's part of the problem with some of the pros that are a little contentious about the pickleball. They think but I don't think that, honestly, I don't think that's happening in full force. My tennis program is growing. I mean, the amount of women that I'm teaching and managing on a weekly basis is just growing. And they see the pickleball every day, and some of them have tried it and they like it and it's fun, but it doesn't give them the same energy or the same feeling that tennis does. Two completely different sports. I don't think you can even compare the two. The problem is with some of the people around is maybe you were taking some tennis up, but you weren't so involved with tennis, like you weren't on a league probably.
I was.
Were you on a league?
I was on a league and I played, and the hardest thing about pickleball for me is that I always had the good forehand, the top spin. I would be considered like a banger.
Right.
Doing the dink is you know
Well, tennis players transitioning onto the pickleball court and just playing pickleball, it's it's not about the power. We know it's about
Exactly.
we know about the finesse because I'm actually teaching pickleball now, so I have to switch gears about that and tell them, no, you don't want to, you don't want to smack the ball so hard.
Exactly.
And everybody wants to hit the ball hard. That's transitioning from tennis to pickleball,
Right.
and because it feels good and it's fun and the sound and everything and all that goes with it. But that's not going to give you the winning. To go back to the people, that are playing tennis to pickleball, if you're so involved, like some of these women I teach tennis to are so involved with tennis that they're eat, drinking, and sleeping it. I'm talking day and night matches. They're competitive where they're playing on 4 or 5 different teams. So they don't have time to play pickleball. They have time to try it, maybe like it, but maybe in your situation, you're getting more out of the pickleball than you were out of the tennis. Maybe more enjoyment, maybe more, accessible to play. It's easier to get a game. It's easier to learn. It's easier to play, and you're enjoying it more. So I say, good for you.
Right. No, and I hear what you're saying. There's almost with this pickleball, there's almost like an addiction. These people,
100% they're addicted
there
to it.
every day.
They're nuts,
and they're and I kind of was like that when I played tennis, but for some reason, it's the game, the whole.
It's easy. It's.
I don't even know what it is.
It is an addiction for sure because I see it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I have the same type of people that I teach in tennis that feel that same way. They're there every day, but pickleball is easier to play, and that's the biggest That's the biggest takeaway. You don't have to have such phenomenal technique to play. It's I would call it. I may get chastised for this, but it's sloppier. The strokes are sloppier, and
you may get chastised.
I know,
for that.
but it really is. I mean, if you're comparing it from tennis to pickleball, the technique is so important in tennis. Where I'm literally taking on a monthly basis. We do these open clinics to introduce pickleball to the community, and I'm teaching them some of the basic rules and regulations of the sport and getting them playing. Within 45 minutes, all 15, 16 people that are coming out for this clinic are playing a game. I can't do that in tennis. I can't take a beginner that's never lifted a racket or has never had any experience playing tennis, and in 45 minutes, as good as I think I am as an instructor, I don't think I can get them playing a game of tennis in 45 minutes.
So, and I hear what you're saying, and I see that. And you're right about that.
Now to move up to level,
to the next level,
100%. It's a different, but that's just, but they'll naturally morph into as they get better and better. But in tennis, to go from one level to another is ridiculously hard.
Right.
And so, I think one of the reasons why maybe somebody like yourself, who's enjoying the game of tennis and taking some lessons and maybe playing in a league, you're seeing a faster rate of improvement probably playing pickleball than you did playing tennis. It's a little bit faster paced, real quick. The game's to 11. Boom, boom, boom. You're going to play another game. Here we go. To get 4 people out with your level to play tennis, it's going to be a slower pace.
Right. No, I
you don't want to believe. You don't want to believe. You don't want to. That's okay.
I want to play at a higher level in pickleball. So I want to learn I want to be able to take it from that game where we're banging, where we're called bangers,
right,
and turn it into more of the dinking and stop it and do all that.
And that's one thing I see out there watching it.
But believe me, tennis was my thing. I played all in high school. I loved it. I've always played on leagues and all of that. And then when this game came along, and I still love tennis, I just said,
Not so
okay.
much. Not so much.
No, I said I can't do both. I said for some reason I was like I can't do both because it's the serving. Everything is different.
I think you can.
You
I mean,
can.
I don't know if you have
definitely
time.
can. You can.
It depends on it depends on how much time you're devoting to each sport, you know?
Right.
But you can admit that you're just enjoying pickleball more than you're enjoying tennis.
Yes.
So what's wrong with that?
Okay, we're gonna have a debate.
You don't have to. We can have
No,
a debate
you're right,
over whether
you're right.
which sport you like better. This is what you're like.
Right.
It's just like anything else. People play a lot of different sports. People that play tennis do other things. A lot of these people that I teach they work out in addition to playing tennis. They'll play another sport. They'll do whatever. It's like kids. Kids can play soccer and they can play tennis.
Of course.
So you don't. It doesn't. So this big thing about pickleball or tennis, it doesn't have to be one or the other. One is not going to overtake the other. Pickleball is not going to overtake tennis. Is it going to be more inclusive? Yeah. Is it going to have some people that have played tennis or are playing tennis turn to pickleball? Yes. Is it going to allow maybe people who can't move around the tennis court as well as they used to?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see that but it hasn't even hit, I don't think, the junior world. I don't think it's even come into it.
What's funny is it started out, beginning a lot of older people, like, my age, but even older. And that's great that they have this sport to go out there and play. But now I'm seeing a lot of younger people.
Oh yeah,
coming out and playing.
Well, look at let's talk about the 25-year-old or 30-year-old that maybe played a little tennis as a kid or something, or did something. Somebody's had a racket in their hand of some sport, whatever. I don't care if it's ping pong. I don't care if everybody's played ping pong in their lives, but or if they're just athletic. But literally, they can come out, because I see it every day at our facility. They're coming out, they go, I've never played before. And they can go on the court and they can play.
Right.
No one does that I don't get anybody coming to our tennis side of our programming and going, hey, I've never played tennis before. Can I just go over to court 3 over there and play tennis?
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yes.
So it's more accessible and it's easier to play.
Yes. So as a player at Riviera, are there going to be some tournaments coming up?
Oh yeah,
Anything
yeah.
You know,
we're famous for the names of our tournaments. I take pride in that. Like, for instance, we always have like a theme for the holiday. We had Thanksgiving, we had Dinksgiving. We had for our Christmas, Hanukkah, we had Eat, Dink, and Be Merry.
Okay.
So we love to do stuff like that. So we're going to be setting up a schedule very shortly. We do monthly events, and whether it's actual bring your own partner or round robin, or we like to mix them up so that we have a variety of them, and we like to level them now because we have well over 650 people a part of our pickleball club.
Wow.
I'm calling it our club app. And so we have a lot of people wanting to play, and people play all around town, wherever they can get on the courts. And in fact, one of the biggest things that we've just done pickleball wise is it's always been a tough situation on the pickleball side of it during daylight savings because we don't have lights on our designated courts.
Okay.
So we just took one of our tennis courts. We didn't transform them, but we put 4 courts of lines on the tennis court. So we have 4 pickleball courts on one of the tennis courts, and we have a portable net, which you see a lot of around town.
Yes.
So, and it's working great. So we're using, because the
wonderful.
tennis courts have lights. So we're now have night play on those, and we're actually we'll hopefully have lights on the other side of the facility. But right now we have 8 pickleball courts.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we doubled our.
So you exactly.
So and here's a perfect example of we'll work around the tennis side of it. We're not going to lose that tennis court because we need the tennis court, but we enhanced it by adding four.
Right.
And of course, the tennis people are going, "What are you doing to this tennis court?" And I said, "It's supply and demand. I can fit 4 times 4. I can fit 16 people on that tennis court,
Right.
as opposed to 4.
To 4. Of course. Of course.
And I can make 16 people happy, and instead of 4."
Well, we're almost out of time, but is there, like to let our viewers know that if they're interested in going to Riviera, they should go to...
Sure, they can contact me. I can give you my cell phone now, and they can just call me directly.
let
It's
us...
305-775-4727. They can also go on to our website, because the information's on there, RivieraTennisCenter.com. And just to let everybody know, this is Riviera Tennis Center at the prep school. And
Right,
because people get a little bit confused with Riviera Country Club in Coral Gables.
Exactly.
This
I've
is not
heard
the
that a lot.
This
Yes.
is not the country club.
It's Riviera Prep School.
It's Riviera Tennis Center, and I always say Riviera Tennis Center at the prep. The facility was built for the school, and we do in-school programs where we have the facility for our high school teams, which is very strong, and our middle school teams, and our PE program. And I'm just grateful and lucky enough to be able to provide the community equally with programs.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
My
I'm
pleasure.
so glad you came. And we'll have another conversation
Okay,
about tennis.
I'm sure it could go on forever.
Exactly. Thank you for watching our show on Pickleball, community news, media, and have a wonderful day.